This video is going to walk you through how to solve a quadratic with the quadratic formula. So this works really well because it works for every single quadratic and even if it's not factorable. So factoring is a really nice strategy, especially if you're really strong at factoring. You can factor quadratic really quickly and then solve for your two x values very quickly, but not every quadratic is factorable, and then other people don't prefer factoring, so this is a nice alternative for solving quadratics that works every time. And so here it is, and it's kind of hefty. So it's x equals, so once you plug all your numbers in, notice the a, b, and c, those relate to this a, this b, and this c in your equation. Once you plug them all in the right numbers, you simplify, you get your answers. So you're literally just plugging the numbers in, you're simplifying that expression, and then you're going to get your two answers. And you get two answers because of this plus or minus sign right here. And then I'll, of course, walk you through an example so you can see it in use. Kind of silly, but there is a way to sing this formula. And for me, I actually didn't learn it in high school. I learned it as I was teaching, and it actually got stuck in my head, and I couldn't get it out. So I learned the formula. I never forgot it again. And so you're gonna sing it to I think "Pop Goes the Weasel" is the tune. So it goes like this. X equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And so I know it's goofy, but sing that to yourself a few times and it probably will get stuck in your head just like it did mine. So I don't have a problem with the quadratic formula anymore because of that tune, so I'm able to recall it. So you're going to take the opposite of b, so notice that negative sign right there, so that does change the sign based on what the formula, what it is in the original equation. Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. And then that whole numerator up there, that's divided by 2 times the value of a. So we're going to put this into use. And another thing to keep in mind is a lot of times you're using this because factoring doesn't work. So you will get a lot of decimal answers, and a lot of the times you're asked to round to the nearest hundredth. So keep that in mind, and you may need to use a calculator. So here we go. Sorry about that. So we have x equals opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So again, I kind of sing it in my head mostly. I don't go around singing it, but I get it. So now I'm going to plug in my a, b, and c. So 3x squared minus 8x plus 2 equals 0 is what I'm solving for. So 3, a equals 3, b equals negative 8, and c equals 2. So knowing that, I'm going to plug into my formula. So x is equal to opposite b. Now since b is already negative, that means opposite b is positive 8 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 squared minus 4 times 3, that's a, times c, which is 2, all over 2 times a, again, which is 3. So what I typically do is I take care of the radical first. So I kind of go off to the side and simplify that. So negative 8 squared is 64 minus 4 times 3 times 2. Well, 4 times 3 is 12, and then times 2 is 24. So now I have 64 minus 24, which is 40. So that's going to look a lot better. So I have x is equal to 8 plus or minus the square root of 40 all over, and then I can do this multiplication. 2 times 3 is 6. So now here we have a much better looking expression compared to what we started with, but we can still simplify. So I'm going to split this now into my two answers. X is equal to 8 plus or minus, or I'm so sorry, I'm going to actually erase that because I'm getting rid of the plus or minus and I'm making it just a plus. So we have x plus the square root of 40 divided by 6, and x equals 8 minus the square root of 40 divided by 6. And this is where we're going to utilize a calculator. And so you want to type it in. I'm going to put parentheses around so that the order of operations is correct. So I'm going to do 8 plus the square root of 40 in my calculator divided by 6. And so when I do this number in my calculator, I get 2.387, so I'm going to write 39 because 2.387 rounds up. So I rounded up that 8 to the 9. Or x is equal to, now I'm going to do the same thing in my calculator, but instead of 8 plus the square root of 40, I'm going to do 8 minus the square root of 40. And this gives me 0.279, so I'm going to make it 28. Again, 0.279 rounds up the 7 to 8. So here is my final answer.